Welcome to Kaizen Time, part of the Blood, Sweat, and Business podcast, where we provide constant improvement to businesses through timely, actionable financial solutions. Do you want answers to your financial questions? Email us at bsp@kaizencpas.com. I'm your host, Mark Valesky. Now let's get started. Welcome to another episode of Kaizen Time. I'm joined by Eric Jorn, a partner here at the firm. What's going on, Eric?
Hey. We are looking to implement some of these AI technologies into our firm. So we are researching the technologies and figuring out ways we can use them as tools to help us work better.
As opposed to just letting AI do whatever it wants to?
Oh, absolutely. That's that's ground one of the testing, right? Is slap something into AI and see what you get back, and you let it fly that fast.
Well, I have my Google AI certification.
Yep.
And I'll start out by saying they recommend and highly suggest a human in the loop approach, which essentially means let AI do its thing, but there has to be somebody who knows what's going on.
Absolutely.
Involved. So let's just put it this way. What's going on in the accounting world with some of these AI tools that we're seeing?
Well, there are some very progressive technology-based companies that have
progressive or aggressive?
Aggressively progressive.
I think that's probably the right term then. Okay.
Based companies that are creating, we'll call them AI accountants.
Okay.
And the question is are they any good for my business?
Okay.
So we've done some research and we see some things that come across our plate sometime. There's three big players that we know of in that, and Pero, AI, Kick, and Finally are three big players that we know of. But the most experience I think we have with this is still is with actually QBO and its live bookkeeping program, where they have human oversight, but it's heavily reliant on the AI functionality that's already built into QBO.
Okay.
And let me tell you, I just looked at one. They're paying QBO $500 a month for this QBO Live, and their books were junk. Bad. They're bad.
How bad? Like they're going to get fined? They're so bad?
They still have time to fix it, but they don't know what's going on with their business because the reconciliations are not right, and we don't know whether or not there's real transactions in there or not.
And just for a little bit of clarification, you're seeing these because they come across your desk, then, right?
Correct.
Because I mean, we see all kinds of businesses statements
Yep.
that have been done by other
and they're
firms.
Reaching out because they're unsatisfied with the work they're getting done. And what we've seen in an overwhelming majority is the ones that are coming from these so heavily technologically reliant companies, and those who lack the desire to have somebody build relationships with their clients and truly understand that business and the certain nuances of that business, that they're getting at the very best, very generic financial data. At the worst, pile of garbage.
I love how the high bar is they're getting something average.
I don't even know if I'd call it average. It's just generic, right? So let's talk about an AI accountant. Who would that work for? I run a super simple business, and I'm probably running deposits as sales, or my sales function is very simple. My billing and my collections and all that fun stuff.
For example, I run an antique shop.
Ooh, that might even be messy because you're dealing with inventory and you have multiple different payment methods where you might get credit card, they'll probably take checks because it's an antique shop.
So
they might even
what
take
would be the most basic business?
Basic business, some type of freelancer most likely. So somebody who's getting, let's say, Zelle payments coming in, that's income, and they are incurring some expenses, and they run it all out of one account.
Okay. Out of one account. So let's say just sell then.
Yep. You can set up automation to handle that pretty well. It'll do a good enough job to file a tax return. Okay. You'll know how much money you're coming in, how much money's coming in, and how much money is going out. And that money going out will be categorized in categories that the vendors match. Now, I don't know if you ever run like a spend summary on your credit card that the banks provide or the credit cards provide, and they try to group them in all these different categories. And they use AI for this, right? They look at the vendors and say, okay, what is this vendor usually for?
Mhm.
And it goes into that bucket. Well, we know that that's not super accurate all the time. And we know
it is guessing.
even some of the data that comes along. I mean, we experience this in QuickBooks Online all the time, where a transaction will come and it's got one little wording inside of one of the various pieces of data as part of that transaction, and it codes it one place, and we're like, that's totally wrong.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's not even on the P&L, it's in the balance sheet, or it's a transfer. There's all sorts of things. In fact, as a process, we don't automatically start using there's a function in QBO called auto add rules, which is essentially, we're going to rely heavily on the AI functionality within QuickBooks to do our work for us. Well, we don't want to rely on that because we've tested it and it creates more work than it speeds up.
Okay. Let's talk about the planning thing, because obviously we've talked about planning on virtually every episode of this podcast. It's the dawn of time.
Yep.
You can't really have a conversation with AI about your planning of your business.
Oh, sure. Have you ever worked with a chatbot before?
I have worked with a chatbot before.
So you could do planning with a chatbot.
It could give me a plan.
Yeah.
You're right. It could give me a plan.
Hey, why don't you put into Chat GPT? Here's the plan I need for the next year.
Okay.
And it will return you something. It will give you a plan.
Mm-hmm. But the problem is it doesn't understand your business. It doesn't understand your location. Doesn't understand the type of business that you really do. It doesn't understand your clients. It doesn't take all that, I guess, whole thing into account.
Let's be honest. ChatGPT has been really popular for a year, maybe two.
I'd say about probably 2. Yeah, I know.
Let's say it's mainstream for about a year.
Okay.
Can you pick out almost every time you get a communication that is completely blind copy paste of whatever ChatGPT returned?
I've gotten a lot better at it. I'd say I'd have to test myself to see if I'm really good.
I feel like it's gotten to a point where it's so obvious that I think people are going to get to a point where they're going to say, this is just generic advice. Actually, we've seen it. We've seen it in communications, and the responses from other people are like, hey, this is not very helpful because it doesn't pertain to my situation.
It does not.
Because AI has not gotten to a point yet where it knows how to ask all the right probing questions needed to get the right answers to then return a very applicable answer to you. You can get a very generic answer, but not an applicable answer. And let's be honest, actually earlier today, we talked about Excel training for our staff. Mm-hmm. And I said, the problem with Excel training is you can train people on it, but unless they can immediately apply the training, it just goes by the wayside. And most generic Excel training gives you nice tied up bow situations. In reality, you're dealing with a pile of crap.
Mm-hmm. It's messy
data that you need to figure out how to turn it into useful data.
Right.
And that's the best way to learn is using that applicable situation and guidance for your applicable actual situation, not just generic.
So I guess to sum it all up, business is messy and AI does not like mess.
AI does not. They like standard sets of facts, right? Because what is it?
Repetitive.
What does AI do that maybe there's been a saying all of our lives that you shouldn't do? AI relies on so many assumptions.
Okay. I mean, it also relies on, being able to find patterns and such. So I guess what I'd say is that not that it'll never figure it out, but it'll always require some type of human oversight to give you what you need.
And trust me, we would be thrilled for the day where we can use technology to do all the keying work and the basic work of accounting, because we don't find value in the actual punching the keys into the computer. Right. We want to focus our time and energy and effort into saying, we've produced you a set of financial data, a financial statement.
Mhm.
Here's the things that you need to look at and use to make decisions about your business. Not, here's a piece of paper that we just generated because you gave us inputs and we gave you an output and here you go. And that's it, right? That's not how we operate, right? We're an advisory first monthly accounting firm. And we want to make sure you know what to do with that piece of paper that we're going to give you every month. And we're going to bug you about it and what you're doing on it and what are your goals and how are you using the financial statement to achieve your goals.
It's almost comical to me if you got a piece of paper from an AI and it just had a bunch of numbers on it, and all of a sudden you're just like, I have no idea what to do with this now.
Yep.
That's it.
That's it. Here you go.
Well, thanks.
Well, you could put your financial statement in Chat GPT and it'll give you feedback.
This is not recommended.
And you can scrape your name off it and put your financial statement in there. And I don't think you're going to, you're putting that data into the interwebs and who cares? But what are you going to get out of return? A very generic response, not tailored to your business. Even if you said, hey, I'm an automotive repair shop. Here's my P&L. What do I need to improve on? It does not understand all the nuances within that to provide you actual real guidance on it. And I think our bookkeeper of tomorrow might not be the person that is entering the data into the system, but they are going to be the ones coaching AI to more accurately compile that data into a financial statement. So again, the human element will always remain.
Well, and one thing I'd like to add to that is AI is exceptional at compiling data.
Yep.
But in the end, it's still right now having that human in the loop approach where they can actually do something with that data.
Absolutely.
And make that determination and have that conversation. That is still very much in the hands of people and business owners.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if AI will be able to find a discrepancy and then give you some examples of why your business has some sort of discrepancy and lead you down a path to go resolve it.
That's a lot of steps.
That's a lot of steps.
Perfect. Anything else you want to add, Eric?
I think that'll do it.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You've been listening to Kaizen Time, part of the Blood, Sweat, and Business podcast. If you like what you heard, subscribe and leave a 5-star review. This podcast has been brought to you by Kaizen CPAs Plus Advisors, providing advisory and accounting services to help you grow your business. Learn more at kaizencpas.com or email us at bsb@kaizencpas.com.